Wasn't always easy, but the Nashville Predators come away with 2 points against the San Jose Sharks. What are your overall thoughts with the way the Preds have been playing the past couple of games? That's an interesting discussion we'll get into. Plus, playoff talk. That's the talk of the town around Nashville, Western Conference Wednesday. We're going to look at the teams we think are going to make it into the postseason. That way you can pin these predictions and tell us when we're inevitably wrong. It's our favorite thing. All coming up today on the Locked On Predators podcast.
Your Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer and editor at ontheforecheck.com, on location this week in beautiful, sunny St. George Island, Florida. And I have a partner in crime who, if I could, would have also brought to beautiful, sunny St. George Island, Florida.
I am Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at ontheforecheck.com, and I am located in rainy, gray Nashville, Tennessee. So thanks for that.
Yeah, sorry. Apparently, in my travels down here, missed a lot of Fred stuff over the past 5 days.
Oh, Nick, we have missed you on the podcast, but I have especially missed an opportunity to get your takes on some interesting things, I don't know whether you've seen it or not. If you've been on social media, I'm sure you've caught wind of the whole brouhaha from Sunday's game against the Penguins. So, you know what?
Yeah.
It was fun to rant about it, but who wants to rant alone? So tell me, what are your thoughts on this whole Malkin hit, suspension, and situation?
Oh, I saw it because I put out a tweet about it, and then Penguins fans found that tweet.
Oh, they always do.
Now hockey is being explained to me.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Well, first off, the hit was dirty. Malkin deserves a 4-game suspension. I think that's all clear. There was a lot of fighting about, I think the big thing was, we were talking about, well, this is a kind of thing that the Penguins get away with. And then there's a lot of fight back, and it's like, no, actually the Penguins, I think our friends at the Locked On Penguins podcast was like talking about where they don't get where this narrative comes from.
Mm-hmm.
There are 12 years worth of Sidney Crosby career receipts of him doing stuff that other people have been suspended for. Now, look, I get it, Locked On Penguins. When there is something that happens to your team, it's always natural to look and be like, well, look, there's a lot of stuff that goes the other way that's not called, and Crosby puts up with a lot. That's the thing about modern sports. I mean, it happens with LeBron James with the LA Lakers in the NBA. It happens with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and others in the NFL. Superstar players get away with stuff and or get calls that other players don't get away with, because that's just, it's quote unquote a respect level. And so, I mean, looking back, the game before this one, if you want a perfect example, Sidney Crosby got up after a hit and punched somebody in the face.
Yes.
Not like, they're scrumming, they're going at it, like we're shoving each other in the face and hitting each other in the side of helmet. No, he got up and swung at a player. And the thing is, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, you know what? That's hockey. That happens all the time. Why are we making a big deal out of it? Making a big deal out of it because Brad Marchand got suspended for that earlier this season. Dylan Larkin from the Red Wings got suspended for that earlier this season. So, and it goes all the way back. Even remember, him pounding PK head into the ice during the Stanley Cup. A lot of people clip that and, was like, wow, look at Crosby, like, fighting, ha ha ha. If you look at, I was working in news at the time, and on the CBS feed, like, the clip was titled, "Funny, Crosby gives Subban," not Subban,
Oh
Subban,
gosh.
the business. And it had, like, the laughing emoji. And it's like, wasn't that the thing we wanted to throw the book at Tom Wilson for last year? Like, it's just a part of sports. You don't have to take it personally, Penguins fans. Like, it's just a thing. Like, it happens. Sidney Crosby's not going to get punished for doing stuff. He threw a water bottle at a ref. He slashed a person's finger off. Like, that's not like an exaggeration. Mark Mathot lost part of his finger.
Yeah.
A slash from Sidney Crosby that wasn't penalized. So it's like, you know what? If that was Mark Borowiecki, who punched a player, in the face after a whistle, if that was Mark Borowiecki that slashed a player and cut off part of his finger, like, the narrative would be different, because it's not Sidney Crosby. Like, and that's part of sports. Like, you don't have to get defensive about it. Just acknowledge that you have the guy who's probably the best hockey player of our generation. He is going to get calls, and he is going to get leeway that other players don't get, because it's part of the game. Like, it's not like a grand conspiracy. It's just something that happens in sports.
I would agree with that. And I think you hit on the right word. I think it's reputation. And I talked about this, I think that there are conscious and unconscious biases. And I will also say that Nashville Predators fans are very aware of that because of the whole Tim Peel hot mic episode. So we may be a little hypersensitive to it because, it's obvious that there are biases, but I do think that reputation frames perception in this league and with the referees. And look, I don't want to be a ref. It's a hard job. I give them credit for doing it, but reputation dictates perception. And I would agree with you. You can name this situation in so many other sports where this is what happens when you have a player with great talent. And as much as it pains me, Sidney Crosby has great talent. Yeah. But he is, like you said, he's a generational hockey player. When you have him on a team that has a reputation for being a championship team, it affects perception. And I do think that you can say that he does get calls that go his way because his talent sometimes may excuse or explain away a situation. So it just is what it is. And I get I get being defensive about it because it feels unfair, but it just is what it is. It just is what it is.
Yeah, and it's hard because, now everybody is going to be looking for calls that go against Pittsburgh. Like, when Malkin got suspended, a lot of people quote tweeted me. It was like, oh, well, there goes your narrative. And sure, like, yeah, fine. Like, Malkin got suspended. He should have been.
Yes.
Like, that's fine. But there's still, like, a lot of cases in the past where it's like, if you put two and two together, a player like Malkin will get away with stuff or get a little bit more leeway that other players don't, whether it be like officially from the NHL, whether it be the way we frame and talk about the incidents. Like, it's a thing. Like, it is very much a thing. But yeah, you know what? It's a 4-game suspension for Malkin. Certainly deserved, and hopefully Penguins fans stop blowing up my mentions now.
It would be so nice, and yet we'll wait and see what happens because they have big feelings about it.
Yeah, I'm sure like the next time like Mark Matheson gets like a questionable tripping call, I'm sure the tweet will come back and it's like, oh, but I thought the Penguins get away with anything. You know what? Here, Sheets sucks. There you go. There is something for yins to chew on. Now get out of here. Go back to the igloo.
Oh dear.
I guess we should talk about Predators hockey, shouldn't we?
Well, I mean, we do have some Predators hockey to talk about, which is great.
Yeah. Maybe we should pause this for a second, take a break, and come back and talk about Predators versus Sharks. In the meantime, though, I want to mention today's show brought to you by our friends at HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your front door, so you can skip the trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. I should know I am a loyal HelloFresh guy. I get these pretty much any week where maybe I'm like coming back from out of town, like next week. Or if, there's just a lot going on and I don't want to think about what recipes to cook, all I have to do is go on the HelloFresh app, pick my recipes. There are about 6 different recipes to choose from each week. And they have different options ranging from low calorie to carb conscious, fit and wholesome, or, more stuff like family friendly meals, easy cleanup, whatever you want to do. There's something for every taste. That's why I love HelloFresh. It's 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal of the same quality, and you can save on average over $65 a month when you order HelloFresh instead of grocery shopping. HelloFresh is a proud partner of the Nashville Predators and fueling hockey fans everywhere. Go to HelloFresh.com/LockedPredators16 and use code LockedPredators16 for up to 16 free meals and 3 free gifts. Again, if you didn't catch that, it's HelloFresh.com/LockedPredators16 and code LockedPredators16. That's why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit. So in non-Penguin shenanigans news,
yes,
the Predators last night played a 1-0 overtime thriller.
Barn burner.
A barn burner. Watch out, Florida Panthers.
Yep.
The 1-0 win. Lots of pretty much nothing but something all at once up until overtime, where Ryan Johansen scored on a very, very unfortunate, I would say, deflection for San Jose. Gets the Predators a 1-0 win. Anne, it's been a while. What's your one word to describe last night's game?
So we've talked on the podcast briefly before about how my son went through a prank phase. It was very dark times in our house. And this game reminded me of the prank that I was always on guard for. And that was when people put saran wrap over the toilet bowl and just horrible things ensued. Don't try that at home. But that was what I thought of as I watched this game. And so my one word is saran wrap. I mean, there was so much offense generated, by the Nashville Predators and at times by the Sharks. And these goaltenders just saran wrapped the net. And the fact that this game ended up 0-0 in regulation blows my mind because, like you said, this was a game of everything and nothing in regulation. And you couldn't look away because you never know what was going to happen, but nothing could get past these goaltenders. So my one word for last night's game is saran wrap.
Saran wrap, damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
My one word, have you seen Die Hard? I'm sure you've seen Die Hard.
Of course. Great Christmas movie.
It's absolutely a Christmas movie.
So
the character Theo, he's like the tech expert who's like one job is to like break into the vault.
Yes.
And the whole movie, that's all he does. He's like getting past one layer of security, one layer. There's like 7 layers of the vault. And that's basically what he does. He's a persistent little thief. And all he does is like drill through, and then one layer breaks open, but there's another drill and he breaks hole. And finally, it's like the Christmas miracle when everything shuts down and the vault finally opens. It's just kind of like that persistence to like just keep going, going. It's going to work. So that to me was my one word. I'm going to go Theo.
Love it.
From Die Hard. Is my one word. And that's kind of what it was last night. The Predators, for the most part, dominated this game.
Yes.
They absolutely did everything right except put the puck in net. You know what? Kappa Kahkonen played a hell of a game.
Oh my gosh. You have to give it up for his performance because it was insane.
Yeah, and it's like one of those things where it's like you watch it and you're kind of like looking back to Minnesota and being like, okay, you got Fleury, but did you maybe give up on this young guy
Yeah.
a little bit too fast? Yeah, I mean, but the Predators kept pushing. They kept pushing. I think the big thing was they didn't overcorrect. They didn't
Yes.
start, forcing plays. The overtime itself, the first like 3 minutes or so were a little bit shaky,
A little hairy.
a little hairy. But what they kept doing, what they had been doing all game. They didn't make any rash adjustments. They didn't like start doing panic fire where they're just throwing everything on net. They kind of kept going, and just like Theo with that one drill at the end, kept pushing, and then he got the miracle he wanted, which was a bad deflection off a Ryan Johansen pass that wound up
Love it.
Kahkonen, and then boom, the vault's open. Predators win 1-0.
Yep. And they talked to John Hynes after the game, and this was something that he talked about in the post-game media. He talked a little bit about kind of how he perceived this game and what he saw from the team. So let's listen to his post-game comments.
I really liked our team's game tonight. I thought we came, ready to play and played the game the right way. And I think give credit to San Jose. They battled, they played hard, and they didn't make it an easy night. But I thought overall in general, the way that the style of game that we played was gives us the best chance to win night in and night out. And tonight was a little bit more of that mental grind, which is why we talk a lot about mental and physical toughness as a core fabric of our team. That I'd like the way the guys that responded. It's an easy game where you feel like things could go off the rails, guys could press, guys could get frustrated, but I felt throughout the game on the bench in between periods what we talked about, it was about solutions and staying with it. And I'm just proud of the guys for sticking with it, and certainly feel like they deserve the 2 points.
Yeah, I love that clip where he talks about mental toughness, because that's one of the things that I think that we have seen develop on this team. There have been games like this before, and the Predators have done too much, and you see players trying too hard, and you see them getting away from just consistently doing the same thing. And it was a little, like, I'm not going to lie, like, it was a little panicky to watch because they were doing so many right things and not getting rewarded for it. And you know what? That happens in hockey sometimes where, you dominate a game and you still don't get the win. So amen, John Hynes. It was really good to see them get the 2 points, but I really felt like this showed a lot of maturity by the Predators to stick with their game, to play with some consistency through what had to feel like dog years of periods for everything they generated and what they didn't get rewarded for.
Yeah, and it's important because I thought the same thing kind of applied to the Penguins game on Sunday too, where the Predators, again, pretty much dominated that game, but unfortunately you could only come out with 1 point. And it's it's the case of the Predators just playing their game, and I think the mindset is a big thing. And John Hynes kind of sit on the same thing we do. It's important to not overcorrect, not change things when things aren't going well, give them a chance to kind of ride them out. It's almost like the stereotypical trust the process. At this point, when it comes to like playing in game, the Predators, I think, trusted the process last night. And the past couple of games, I'll say it, and it's funny because the Preds are only 1-1-1 in their past 3 games. And their one win came very, very, very close against a bad team.
Yeah.
But these past 3 games have been really good for the Predators. Like
the
way they're playing has been really, really good.
Yeah, this game, especially last night, it reminded me of the reverse of some of the games that we've seen from the Predators kind of in this rough stretch where the Predators had allowed Juuse Saros to face 40+ shots and not generated a lot of offense, and they have struggled
out.
And he bailed them out. And this was the reverse where Nashville kept up offensive pressure. They owned the offensive zone time. They had 41 shots on goal compared to 25 shots on goal. Like, they were pressing offensively consistently this whole game. And so it was a reverse of what we're used to seeing, which was really nice, except, man, I'm telling you, they could not get anything in there.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah.
Who's a player that stood out to you last night for the Preds in a positive way?
You know what? I want to give a shout out to Ryan Johansen, and not just because he, of course, had the game winning overtime goal, which was, maybe not exactly how he envisioned the puck traveling, but you know what? Still get the points for it. But I thought Ryan Johansen had a really smart game. He was playing with Forsberg and Tomasino. He had at one point on the power play, he had a beautiful pass to Philip Forsberg on the power play, found him open. Forsberg, of course, couldn't get it past Kaikkonen. And then he kind of generated a really good 2-on-1 chance for Tomasino and Forsberg again in the game. He's just generating a lot of things. He has 6 goals in his last 5 games since John Hynes has kind of tweaked lines. And I love what I'm seeing from him, not just because of those goals, but because of what he is generating when he is on the ice.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And again, we had been talking about this for a couple weeks, how, everybody's talking about Forsberg's big year. Everybody's talking about Duchene's bounce back year and Josi, what he's been able to do, which has been phenomenal. And because of all of that, it seems like Ryan Johansen's year has really fallen under the radar.
Yes.
But this is a career revival for him. This is his best season in a very, very long time. And he's doing it all. He's obviously generating a lot of offensive chances, but he's also doing things like forechecking really well. Neutral zone defense, he is making it really tough for other teams to kind of make plays in that neutral zone. We talk about him having the lanky gorilla arms. He can just, kind of spread out and, make space very limited for people to make plays. This is a revival year for Ryan Johansen. And I'm glad that, he got the goal last night, obviously, but I'm glad other people are also trying to, starting to pick up on just how valuable he's been to the team this season. Another guy I really want to shout out last night is Mattias Ekholm.
Yes.
To me, he's a guy we've kind of talked about him earlier this season, maybe not being the same impact he has in recent years. He's kind of taken a different role this year, which is kind of more of a, stay at home sort of defender. He's done very, very well at that, but I thought was very engaged offensively last night, generating a lot of chances. And, it's kind of a reminder to everybody. It's like, what? Everybody's talking about Josi. Let's not forget Mattias Ekholm can make things happen offensively. And we saw that last night. Even if that pass from Johansen in overtime hadn't been deflected, it would have been a goal anyway, because Mattias Ekholm was right there in front of an open net, made a fantastic play.
Yes.
So it's good to see him starting to get the offensive kudos, because his defensive game this year has been solid. It's always been solid. I think people were expecting more from him offensively, obviously, because, his role, I think, is a little bit different. It hasn't happened this year, but, especially last night, he made that play to get the game winning goal, and he was engaged in the offensive zone a lot. And I think we're starting to kind of see people be like, you know what? Mattias Ekholm, man, that is a two-way defender.
Yes, I loved it. And, his play in overtime, how he kind of set up that game-winning shot was really fantastic. Great. We had some just really good performances last night from a number of people. Juuse Saros, Mark Borowiecki came in this game, fought twice. What in the name of all? A whole lot happened. But, in the end, what matters most is that Nashville came away with 2 very important points. They are going to need these points because Tampa Bay, what are you doing? Dallas beat Tampa Bay 1-0. You had one job. Tampa Bay. So coming up, we are actually going to take a look at how the Western Conference is shaking out after last night. And we're going to do it by making predictions, which, this never goes wrong.
Write it down, folks. Write it down.
Write it down. Come on. It's never going to go wrong. All that's coming up here in just a minute. But first, let you know that this episode's brought to you by our friends at Built Bar. Built Bar are a really great protein bar, tastes great, good for you. Nick and I both are Built Bar users. Had myself a cherry barcia this morning, and they are full of flavor, everything you could possibly want in a protein bar. They also have Built Bar Puffs, which are popular in my house. They are a protein infused marshmallow covered in 100% real chocolate, like all Built Bars are. They have all sorts of great flavors. They have cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, banana cream pie. Like I said, love the cherry barcia. All Built Bars covered in 100% real chocolate, but they are low in calorie, high in protein. So when you have that moment where you just want a candy bar or something chocolatey, get yourself some Built Bars. They are better for you. If you go to built.com, you can see their macros chart. They have about 130 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, but they are packed with 17 grams of protein. Very popular in my house right now. They have, again, great flavors: mint brownie, coconut almond, white chocolate cookies and cream. They are all about the taste. This is a protein bar that you can eat and enjoy. Go to built.com, use our promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. That is promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
Can we shout out Roman Josi last night?
Always.
Because this looks like a NHL creative player on like stat line. 30 minutes of ice time, 10 shots on goal.
I mean, there is nothing that he cannot do. And what is so interesting to me is that an excellent game is his regular game.
Yeah.
You know, he's just so above what you would expect from a defenseman in all facets of his game. There's not an area of the Nashville Predators team that isn't made better by Roman Josi. So, I am always here to shout out Roman Josi's hockey.
Yeah. 3 straight games without a point though. So I guess the 100 point total is looking a little bit more challenging now. He would have to have 13 points in the Preds' last 9 games to get there. But he just needs 3 to 90, and that hasn't been done since Ray Bourque in 1994. So even that in its own would be phenomenal.
Amazing. Yes.
Western Conference Wednesday, Anne. Obviously the playoffs are the big talk of the NHL right now. You're looking at the board, you're kind of looking to see which teams are going to be in. It seems like, I'm trying to think of the best way to say it, but it seems like the big players are pretty much set at this point.
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah, so, looking at it at this point, we're going to kind of go through and predict where we think everybody's going to finish. For me, I would have to say the first 3 in the Central are set. I mean, don't you, Anne?
I do. As much as I would love to say they're not, I think St. Louis and Minnesota, they're strong teams. They're not going to drop a lot of points. Nashville has, 7-point difference. I just don't know that they're going to make that up. So I would agree. The top 3 teams are set.
And the thing about the top 3 teams right now is they're also red hot.
Yes.
Colorado 8-1-1 in their last 10. Minnesota 7-1-2, except that 1 is to us. And St. Louis 8-1-1 in their last 10, and they've won 6 straight. So, unless the Predators absolutely light a fire under the league for the last 9 games, and one of those teams, St. Louis or Minnesota, falls off the pace a little bit, I would say the Predators' focus right now should probably be on that number 1 wild card spot.
Yes, I would agree.
For a couple of different reasons, Anne. Because if you look at the Pacific, it's looking like it's probably going to be Calgary who has that number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a tough team. Don't get me wrong, one of the best in the NHL over the past couple of months. But that's going to be a tough series for them too. And if you're the Predators and you manage to get past Calgary, your second round series is probably either going to be against Edmonton, LA, or Vegas. which is a much, much, much easier path to the Western Conference Finals than maybe being the number 2 wild card and having to play the Colorado Avalanche first and then St. Louis or Minnesota if you survive.
I agree with that. And I think where Nashville is at right now, they, if they could stay where they are, they would face Calgary. And I 100% agree with you, because I think if you get past Calgary, the path is easier, but I also think that's a good first round matchup for the Predators. If they can get past that, I think they're going to have a pretty complete game to carry them into the second round. I would love to see it pan out that way. But dang it, Dallas.
Well, dang it, Tampa Bay. You had one job last night.
You had one. You have 2 Stanley Cups back to back, and you couldn't beat Dallas?
You couldn't
what
get,
are you doing?
You couldn't get pucks past Scott freaking Wedgwood of all people.
I mean, one job.
One job.
You had one job.
Yeah. Dallas is playing well too. To me, and I think the way everybody's playing right now, Nashville and Dallas might be your top 2 wildcard teams.
I think so, and I really hope that Nashville stays in that number 1 spot. I hate that they have a little bit harder schedule than Dallas does coming down the line. Dallas is one of those teams where, like, full disclosure, I carry them in my invisible backpack of hockey grudges. Like, I want no good things for them. So this is tough for me, because I look at it and I think, yes, Nashville is playing well. I think they've had 3 good games, but they haven't come away with wins. And I worry a little bit as I look at the schedule. I want Nashville to kind of stay ahead of Dallas. And when teams like Tampa Bay don't do what they need to do, it's very frustrating to me. I don't know. How do you feel like that's going to shake out? Do you feel like Nashville's going to be able to stay ahead of Dallas for the first wild card spot?
Well, it comes down to they have a game left. So, it's going to probably come down to that, like it did last year.
I hate that.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting where it's going to come down to each of them have a couple of games against Central Division opponents, and it's going to be a matter of who does that well.
Yes.
To me, the most interesting thing is who's going to get that last spot in the Pacific.
Yes.
Because right now, Edmonton's at 90. And they have the second spot. You would think that gives them, and they have also a game in hand over LA, who's third. But LA is only 3 points ahead of Vegas. Vegas has a game in hand, and they have been playing better than the Kings have lately. So that, to me, that's going to be, I think, the last big battle of the Western Conference right there.
I think you're right, but I really feel like the LA Kings may make this, because they have, when it comes to strength of schedule, they have the second easiest remaining strength of schedule. And I feel like just run with that. Yeah. And I'd be okay.
Vegas has the first.
Like, run with this, LA Kings. Do something. I would love to see the Kings make it in, but I would agree with you. I think Vegas went through such an ugly little slump there for a while, but they are finding their mojo at the right time. And this is so much about timing. It is so much about timing. So I would like to see the Kings get in over Vegas.
Well, and the other thing too is if Vegas gets in, all of a sudden, all that long-term injured relief issues that they've been having this season, that goes out the door. And all of a sudden, you're facing a playoff team with Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, Jack Eichel, Alec Martinez, Alex Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore. And then all of a sudden, they go from barely getting in to suddenly a contender again. So
a whole different team.
That, to me, is going to be the most interesting battle, is can Vegas get into that third spot?
I would be okay if they don't. Just putting it out there. I'm okay if they don't.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, are we thinking that this is going to be pretty much how it is right now minus, the LA versus Vegas race? Or do you think maybe there's a case where Vegas jumps Nashville or Dallas?
Oh, gosh,
Did I
I
just put you
don't.
on the spot?
Yeah, you did. I would love to see Vegas jump Dallas. Full disclosure. Again, just don't want nice things for Dallas. But I don't know that they're going to be able to do that because I think Dallas is playing well right now, and I hate that. I hate that.
Oh, my stars.
Oh, my star. Oh, somebody else's stars, not
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah. So yeah, the Predators have a tough road to the playoffs still to come. Edmonton Oilers is the next game. Remember, the Predators have not necessarily played well against the Edmonton Oilers in the Connor McDavid era. So
Yep.
this is going to be another very, very interesting game to watch as a fan, and we're going to have a full preview of that tomorrow on Locked On Predators. Until then, Ann, where can the people find your work?
You can find my work at ontheforecheck.com. You can find me on Twitter at AnnK_Mama on Ice.
You can find me at ontheforecheck.com as well. Find me on Twitter at _NSMorgan. If you do find me on Twitter, please do not tweet any more Malkin takes at me. Also, while you're there, be sure to follow the podcast at LO_Predators. And if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of our takes today, and if there's a topic you want us to discuss on a future episode. That's going to do it for us today on Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We'll be back tomorrow with a Predators versus Oilers preview.